So thank you so much for bringing us into your journey of healing and knowledge and understanding, and so much of the human condition. How are you? How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. I'm very thankful also to Doc NYC that we are able to celebrate our international premiere here. So that's wonderful. And every time I see this film, I have to say that for some reason I get reminded of the beautiful people that we were allowed to film and the wisdoms that they, bestowed upon us. And yeah, I'm very thankful, kind of every time I see it.
I wanted to ask you about that. Like, how did you find them? What was like? I know it's not a casting per se, but like in your search for other people's with their own journeys, how did you end up with this wonderful people that we see on the screen?
Good question. Yeah, I think we researched for quite a long time. Of course, Hillary is a very good friend of ours. She is actually from New York, and her story began here in New York. And because of the fact that my dad has Parkinson's and is actually right now doing a lot worse, I just looked for people who might have healed themselves or have found some kind of treatment with Parkinson's. So, and then one thing led to the other. And I have to say, for cancer, for some reason, they're the most people you can find online. I did a lot of online research that healed themselves and that found different ways, which is pretty amazing.
And something that is pretty great about the way that you bring us into the journey is that you have your own set of skeptical moments, but also you embrace every new thing with like open, without preconceptions, and then I think that some of the very wise things that are said in the film, like how the illness can be a bridge into transformation, and to like and the absolute need of knowing ourselves and understanding that everything has a somatic place in our bodies, everything that we've experienced. I feel like this is very much a philosophical film as well. Like, what was your, like, from the producing to the editing to the directing, how did you have an idea of what the project was going to be like? When did you start it? Did you have like certain landmarks that you wanted to hit, or was it like a finding it as you go kind of project? How did that work out?
That's a really great question. No, that's a really great question because I guess in the beginning I was very naive. I personally, my self-experiment, I approached very naively, and also tried to show that on screen and to not hide it. And thought, wow, I'm going to find healing and it's going to be great, and I'll be able to tell everyone about it, type of thing. And then it was just wonderful to be able to meet all these people and to hear what they had to say. And it really is kind of the way it's portrayed in the film that for me personally, it was also a step-by-step process. I got to know more things of these amazing, incredible people and how they view life and how they view their bodies and view their diseases. And I think for people with chronic illnesses, we're so separate from our bodies. We're so disconnected from them, and we oftentimes don't really realize it even. I didn't realize it. And I knew that there was something that I was so afraid of, which was having a seizure, but I didn't realize that I was actually so distrustful of my body. How was it for you two?
Yeah, how did you think, in the process of editing, how did you find the main threads of the story, and what was in your mind at the time? What were the conversations?
The main thread for me was Yasmin's journey, sure, but the challenge of the editing process was to really tell the stories of the 5 other protagonists, and really to it's the whole stories. And then still have time to tell Yasmin's stories and her father's stories, so that and to interweave it in a way that it feels really like it's one journey. That was really a challenge, and it took us like 8 months to get there. Yep.
And Rodney, you're also like this is a difficult kind of production because you're inside and you're outside. You're you're invested in the partnership and like worried about Yasmin, but also wanted to produce a film that can help other people and that has to meet certain, I guess, standards. And how did you balance this out?
It was difficult to balance, especially at the times when Yasmin was having seizures and broken nose, chipped tooth. I mean, it's really raw. It's very real and present. At the same time, I understood that she would kill me when she got better if I didn't film and if I didn't sort of participate in the storytelling process. I think it's really interesting. One of the things that I began to learn, and I really understood the necessity for this film, was understanding that individuals need the information. Oftentimes we don't have this range of information. And also along the way, I began to understand as well, there's a challenge that many of us have, which is that you can have the information, but it takes discipline, takes time, and a phenomenal amount of effort, as you can see in this documentary. And we wanted to make sure that that came across, and I think Yasmin did a phenomenal job of doing that. And as co-producers, it was really kind of just keeping my eye, as you say, on the outside and the inside, to balance sort of supporting Yasmin and then Kiki once we were in the post-production in terms of fulfilling that vision.
Thank you so much for that question. That's a very good question. So I'm guessing that you mean not necessarily Miguel, who used to have epilepsy, but you mean especially the Taita, the
shamans, right?
Yeah. So Taita Miguel is, as you saw, a shaman or indigenous medicine practitioner in the second generation, at least. When you go there and when you want to film with indigenous people in Colombia, they're very, 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 for good reason. How do you say? They want to check you out basically first. So you have to go to the council first of their region and ask them whether it's okay to film there. You have to say what you want to film and so on and all those things. They double and triple check you, and then you're allowed to film. The good thing was that Taita Juan is actually that council person, so that kind of made things slightly easier. We did also speak to the president of the indigenous people of Colombia, so we went through all those processes, and I think that's fantastic and really great that they have these processes in place. We did also have a fantastic stringer. Actually, our stringer is the person that made the documentary about Taita Juan's father, I think 20 years ago or something. So it was really beautiful to kind of, to be able to connect those two. So of course, those two already had a connection. So yeah, there was trust there, and they knew that we hopefully treated everyone with respect and so much gratitude for what they did for us and what they did for me, what Taita Juan did for me. In the beginning, I was very naive, as I said, and I just thought like, okay, if Hillary can do it, I can do it. But Hillary, right at this point, my friend Hillary with multiple sclerosis, as you could read, she also had setbacks, a lot of setbacks. But that's just, I think, what you have to deal with if you have a chronic disease. And I don't know. I hope that, some people will be able to find proper healing, but I don't know if that is at all possible. I think the most important thing is that we learn how to deal with our bodies and to accept them and to love them for what they are, and to learn to deal with their specific specificities, be that epilepsy, be that something else. The trust, I think, I had was because I had Hillary as a hero for me, and I had all these wonderful people that told me these beautiful things of how to think about my body, how to think about the disease. So that I think that gave me encouragement. Right now I'm still taking medication, but I was able to cut down on it a lot. and sometimes I take it, sometimes I don't. And my neurologist knows this, but again, I feel that I have found a connection with my body that I never had before, and I feel that I can kind of judge when I need it most. I hope that answers your question.
Any more questions or comments? Yes, go for it. Ayahuasca, you mean? Yeah.
So when I took the ayahuasca, everyone has a different experience with ayahuasca. Many people have visions, proper visions, and they see tons of colors and so on, and the entire night. The ayahuasca ceremony starts in the evening, and then it continues the entire night. And you take it multiple times, depending what your titer tells you, things is the right thing for you. For me, the very first time I took it, I immediately threw up. And I ran to the loo, and everyone else was kind of fine for whatever reason. I wasn't, and I didn't see anything. I didn't feel anything. Later at night, I took it one more time, and it stayed in a little longer. I did not have visions with it, and that happens to a few people, that it takes them taking it a few times until you have visions. But I mean, I also didn't go into it to have visions. I went into it to kind of, experience some form of feeling, or to do it for the first time at least. The one little thing that I can say, and it seems, I don't know if it seems like something so small, but when we first filmed with Miguel in the Amazon region, I had all these mosquito bites, and for some reason we were like, the mosquitoes loved me so much. I looked like a streusel, like my legs were full, and it was itchy and everything. And after taking the ayahuasca, I showered in the morning, and I looked down on me, and the bites were gone. All of a sudden, they were like little spots, like as if they had been there for 2 weeks or something. And because I had never thought of that, didn't go in for the mosquito bites, but it told me that something must have happened. This ayahuasca plant has some really, really intense, really powerful properties that help me. I don't know, anti-inflammatory properties or something that, for example, did make this go away. And I would like to go back and continue the process. Of course, COVID made that more difficult, but I'm sure I'll be back. So I started filming myself roughly 4 or 5 years ago, together with my dad, and then we filmed for about 6 months or something. Well, no, that's not true. 2017, we filmed for the first time in Portland with Rick and with Howard. And then we went back in 2019, and we just finished just before COVID hit. So we're quite lucky in that way, I guess. And then, of course, editing.
Yeah, we edited. We just started editing as COVID arrived, and we edited at my home editing suite. So we hardly noticed there was something going on outside, because we were so in our little world. And I must say, it was such a healthy time for me, because Yasmin cooked vegan food every lunch for me. So the best editing experience I ever had. Thank you for this.
Is your dad a vegetarian now or not yet?
Sorry.
Is your dad a vegetarian now or not yet?
He's not quite yet, no. He's still into sausages, but the funny thing was that that's very nice to hear. I love him too. He watched the film. I showed him the film, and afterwards he turned to me and went like, "Yasmin, wow, I didn't realize all these things. Maybe I should eat more vegetables."
It's
was
so
like,
sweet.
great.
And he reminds me of my dad a lot, who is a traditional Western medicine and thinks that my kinesiologist is like a witchy thing and just like out there to get my money. So we have very interesting conversations, very similar to like the ones that you and your dad have. So I love that you brought those perspectives together. So also like gives a great entry point for people that don't really believe it, but you know they really go on the journey with you. And like your dad, you know, you can get some wisdom from it. So that's really great. Anyone else? So the question was about fertility and the threat of like illnesses and treatments associated with fertility. If that's something that you would like to explore more, or that you have more that you haven't used for the film.
Thank you for that question. You're very right. I think in general the topic of fertility and of the female reproductive system, basically, and our hormones, is not explored enough and is not, thought about enough in Western medicine. Yeah, it's something that is just is relatively neglected, I would say. It just so happened that there were two women. Actually, yeah, the two women. You're right. You're right. The two women that are in the film had those issues. There was actually I haven't seen the film, but there's a film in the festival called "The Pill." It's about the pill, taking the pill, and what the pill can do to our bodies. I have not seen it, but I know
it's very good. I recommend it.
I know from a friend that it's a very neglected topic, and we do need to talk more about it. Thank you for noticing that.
And just to say that I think something that we discovered once we were in the edit process is that we have so much material and we have so much information that it feels really wrong that we had to, phenomenal job by Kiki and Yasmin, but we had to distill it down to just what you're able to see here, because there were even protagonists or interviews that took place which we weren't able to include in the film. So I'm trying to figure out what can we, because this isn't just like, as in fiction, we didn't like this shot. This is information, and it's valuable, maybe life-changing, life-saving information. So we have to figure out what might be the possibilities that exist. What can we do with this footage? So your particular question triggers that for me. There is so much more that could be explored within this documentary.
Yeah, and in that sense, it's also very generous of all the different practitioners to trust you with their practices, because it's often hard to see results like in 1 or 2 sessions, or to see transformation, and they just trusted you to portray their work in a good way, because there's a lot of people that don't believe in what they're doing. So yeah, that's also really interesting. So you can have like a website with your film that could be a hub for so many more information. That's really interesting.
Follow us on Instagram. It's Heal Yourself Documentary. And we do actually try to, put out some small little informations here and there, and also some quotes from the protagonists here and there that didn't make it into the film. Because as you saw, they're just really wise, wonderful people that, that have such... I mean, these interviews are usually 2 to 3 hours long. My camera woman usually killed me because I have such long interviews, but they're so rich, they're such fantastic, very reflected people.
Well, thank you so very much for sharing your film with us and your wisdom, and thank you all for coming. And follow them on Instagram. Much more to come.
Thank you.